Welcome to the I Now Pronounce You Divorced podcast, where we have three award-winning family law attorneys dive into intriguing topics like divorce, military divorce, custody and visitation, trust and estate planning, and all things family law. Join us as we provide a comprehensive viewpoint through the eyes of our experts and guests, aiming to educate and soothe our listeners. Get ready to tune in because I Now Pronounce You Divorced starts right now. Hi, I'm Rebecca Malone, and welcome to I Now Pronounce You Divorced. Today, I'm joined by my partner, Charles Hatley, and our COO, Dan Cuneo. And with us today as a guest, we have Oliver Walmon. And Oliver is from the Fatherhood Fire program with Child Development Resources. So Oliver, first, can you just introduce yourself and your organization and a little bit about what you all do?
Okay, my name's Oliver Walmon. I am the project director for the Fatherhood Fire program. It is a program that's run from Child Development Resources, which we call CDR around here. So CDR has been an agency that has been around since 1960, and it started out dealing with it dealt with children from 0 to 5 and dealing with daycare issues and things of that nature. But it's grown into 11 departments, Fatherhood Fire being one of them. What we do is we do workshops for dads, for fathers, or father figures, grandfathers as well. And we provide them with support they need mentally. We also deal with physical support, whether it's dealing with workforce development or their educational and trade needs. We even provide barriers to work at times where we'll provide money that can buy them boots and tools. And we've even fixed a car at one point because that is a barrier to work. So we tend to do a lot, and it's all under that goal of making our fathers being more strategically supportive in making their family functional again.
That's awesome. So from your perspective or from your program's initiative, what are some of the more critical aspects of a father's role in a child's early development?
Well, we talk we talk a lot about father absence, and that's the problematic area that we feel that we have to deal with when dealing with fathers. So what is the opposite, or how do we combat father absence in a child's life? Well, it's father presence and father engagement. So that to us are the two most critical aspects in the development of children. Uh, Father absence is detrimental because it can negatively affect that child's development. When you're in this business, you learn a lot of statistics, so you know that there are, I believe it's 17.8 million children that do not have a father or father figure in their home.
Wow.
And that's nationally. And if you can throw numbers out, but what does that mean? That's twice the size of the population of New York City. That's 4 times the size of the population of Los Angeles. So when you take that into account, that is a huge number, 1 in 4 children. Virginia is the same, it's 1 in 4. So we're no different here. So the way to combat that, obviously, is through the father being actively involved and engaged in their children's lives. And we try to teach them how they can be engaged, even in the most negative situations.
You know, as a father myself, I tend to believe that my presence is of utmost importance, but also as an attorney, I've seen dads go through the litigation process, and I don't want to say give up's not the right word, but they get beat down, and they don't know what the next step is when every single time they try to see their child, they try to take their son to a baseball game, mom and the court system and a guardian ad litem sitting there to smack them down. How do you help dads through that part?
Well, what we do is we've had a number of dads. There's a good percentage of our fathers that are not involved in their child's lives or going through different points in divorce. I'm a divorced father myself, so I speak from a little bit of experience. You know what the number one thing is that we tell these fathers is to focus on the child. Sometimes that's easier said than done. But then we say, well, focus on your child or children, but not on that tattered relationship. So the fathers who are experiencing negative relationships with their ex or dealing with dysfunctional co-parenting, we try to guide them to recognize their part in that dysfunctionality. We tell them things as simple as, okay, You broke up with your wife or your ex. Now it's time for you to break up again and away from her mentally. Because a lot of times these guys are sitting up there talking to them like we're still in a relationship. You have to do this. You're not giving me this in the way I need or, with my child. So you got to stop talking and treating your ex like she's still in a negative relationship with you. You have to mentally break up yourself from that relationship. You're no longer in a romantic partner relationship. You're in a co-parenting relationship, and the focus has to be on your child. And once they recognize that, the mindset and availability to remain involved in their children's lives tends to increase.
As I hear you speaking, the one thing that comes to my mind is communication. What is your advice to fathers out there that are in a toxic relationship, and kind of the best way to communicate with that person?
Well, the thing is I can tell you the easiest way is it all starts with yourself. You can't change the communication. I can't change the questions you guys are asking just as much as you can't change the answers I'm going to give. And so, in this world of self-care, we got to tell these fathers to, hey, recognize what you're doing in that communicative process yourself. Uh, Once you take that higher road, and I had to learn this the hard way, you have to learn to separate that emotion and just constantly stay positive and realize that whatever you say and whatever you do are in the eyes of your children. And so you can sit there and argue on the phone, and your child's in the background. They're hearing that argument. They're hearing your tonality. They're hearing what's coming from you. So you obviously want what's coming from you to be positive. Um, I was angry. I was angry the first 2.5, 3 years of my divorce. I was the victim in that divorce, so to speak. However, what did I do to cause that situation to even occur that led to divorce? So I was angry. I used to sit up there and have my emotions on my sleeve where my son could see it. I used to talk about his mother in earshot of him. And then one time he told me, it was about 14, I think. He said, Dad, why do you always talk about her like that? She never talks about you. That hit me in the gut. So my communicative style changed. My relationship on going out with different people, or having a dating perspective, all that changed in that one sentence. And, out of the mouths of babes, they teach us how to communicate. I don't want to hear it. That's what he told me.
So, what have you found to be successful when you're working more specifically with divorced fathers? How can you sort of coach them into better communication, or how do you get them to have that type of realization without, having their child say it, you know what I mean? And having that punch in the gut moment. How do you coach
Correct.
somebody to get that realization and to move forward?
Okay. Well, what we do is we tend to say amongst each other that work here with fathers that our motto, our unwritten motto, is we meet fathers where they are at currently. By this, we mean we meet them where they're at mentally. We find out what their needs are and what they've done to achieve or block those needs. We don't sugarcoat the answers. Um, it's much like coaching in the aspect that if it is them, we tell them that it is them, and what can we do to move on and actually achieve the goal that they're trying to reach. So we have fatherhood specialists from all walks of life, and they utilize their life experiences in coaching. So we tend to pair our fatherhood specialists with individuals that they're aware of those type of situations. By that, I mean we have an educator that's 30 years in education and has dealt with middle school children. And so having those experiences and dealing with those preteens and those children that are trying to just find themselves and fathers that are dealing with children in that aspect, we may have him do it. We have a female fatherhood specialist who coaches these guys. And so when they ask her, well, what can you do to teach me how to be a man or teach me how to be a father? Her go-to answer is right off the bat, well, I have a father. I didn't always like what he did, so I could tell you what you're doing right or what you're doing wrong from my perspective. And then they realize, yeah, this fatherhood thing is about children, isn't it? uh, so the strategies that we use are, one, be truthful, and one, don't sugarcoat. If they're doing something that's not uh, positive, you have to tell them that. And that's one reason some of these agencies that we deal with, like probation or parole, or even businesses, we've heard consistently that they like the fact that we do hold our guys accountable, because that's the only way you're going to change.
And when you're going through this process, regardless of whether or not there's a break, usually there's a breakdown in a relationship somewhere, even if it's not a divorce. I was reading a statistic that men don't have a lot of friends. Men don't have a big community. How important is it to bring these guys into a community of people that are struggling through the same thing that they're struggling through, but maybe at different points along that journey?
Well, the funny thing is, this program focuses on all of Hampton Roads. So we literally have fathers that go from Virginia Beach to New Kent. And everyone knows, if you live in this community, it's a very diverse community. So Newport News does not look like Suffolk, and Suffolk does not look like Norfolk, and Norfolk does not look like Chesapeake, and so on. And so the culture shifts everywhere you go. The one thing that stays constant is we have fathers that are going to come from all walks of life. We deal with homeless dads in different shelters, to recidivism through reincarceration and incarcerated fathers. And then we have those guys. Some of those guys are in the same workshops with assistant professors and professors from local colleges and engineers from Dominion Power and all this other stuff. One thing they realize is they're all dealing with the same situation a lot of times, whether that's a divorce or whether that's just the fear of fatherhood. So this thing became so popular with us that we kept hearing these fathers say that, hey, in the beginning, a lot of them, especially the child support fathers, they'll say, I don't want to do this. I'm being forced, or things like that. But by the end, we kept hearing the same thing. Man, this is over already. So what's next? What can we continue to do? They didn't realize that they needed that camaraderie. And so we built a program called Legacy Dads, which is an alumni program that they work together. They meet consistently. We have potlucks up here. They start building community. They drew their own logos, and we created shirts for them. And then go out and do community service. And it brought a whole new aspect of these guys actually realizing that there's other fathers in different walks of life, but we can get together and we can serve the community and we can enjoy each other. So
When I was litigating a lot, I would have clients that could be stubborn, or they're concerned on like what stigma may be attached to them. They reach out for certain types of help. And in your role in what your organization does, how do you handle someone that at least acknowledges that they know, but is kind of a little bit afraid to take that next?
Well, we stay in the community so much that we've built a pretty good reputation where a lot of times now, when people reach out to us, they'll say, yeah, I've heard of you guys from this area, that area. But we tend to get those fathers that are just that, because that's all of us. To a certain extent, we're taught when we grow up not to trust, to keep everything internalized. And so we bring those tenets with us as we grow to adulthood. I don't want to talk to you about my problems. This is a program. And the stigmata that comes with programs, you don't want to be a part of that. But once they realize and see what we're doing, and that it's nothing more than a men's group, a place where I can actually go and just talk. And then they hear about it from other guys and other people that have done it. Now, mind you, we've dealt with over 3,000 fathers since 2006 here in Hampton Roads. So there's a lot of talk that, we get a lot of people just from word of mouth. So we just let our program and what we do and how we deal with these guys with respect, but also try to really help them find real life value and real life change into what their needs are, speak for themselves. So far, it has done its work in the fact that people do come to us even after being hesitant. And we learn that while they're in the program. I had one guy told me he didn't even want his child. That was after he was in the program for 3 weeks. But
Wow.
I could tell you this real quick. He was a Virginia Tech graduate, got his degree, was working at one of the local shipyards, wanted his master's, and told everyone in the class once he felt comfortable enough, I didn't mean to get her pregnant. I don't even know if I want this child because it's going to take my abilities away from me to be successful. And instead of me, which I was getting ready to go into counseling mode, talking to him, everyone else just kind of jumped on him. Well, it was too late. The baby's coming. So it turned into a group session. And the fact of the matter is that after he finished that 12 weeks, he was very involved in his child's life, still is involved, and has stayed and played a strong co-parenting role with the child's mother, even though they didn't start off on the best of terms. So, and we follow up, so we know he's doing very well with that, with his family.
That's awesome. So where do you see the future of your program going, or where would the future of any sort of fatherhood development program go next? Where do you see this going?
Well, there's a lot of, there's more agencies and more local governments that are starting to realize the importance of fatherhood. We're federally funded, and we're the only federally funded program in all of Virginia, but there are locally funded programs. So we're seeing that local governments are starting to realize that fatherhood has a big impact in the communities. They see positive impacts from programs like ours, and they realize that we help to check off a lot of boxes in converting a family from dysfunctional to functional. We're being approached more than we have been in the past. It's a trend that has the ultimate upside to uplift and support a child into becoming a productive person who will raise children with the same positive mindset. That's the job we do. So the good part is that we've actually been contacted by some local governments to provide services for fathers, to provide some engagement and some activities, different programming. We did events. We tend to do events in the community too. So they're actually backing up their words with funding to support their fathers in their local communities, and they've contacted us as well. So that's where I see the trend. And respectfully, Rebecca, I don't want to call it a trend because that means there's an end to it. There shouldn't be an end to fathers being supportive and involved in the family.
That's great. And so if our listeners want to learn more about your program, or if they want to sign up, where can they go to find out more about their options?
That's very easy. You can go straight to our website, which is www.cdrfatherhood.com, or you can go to our parent website, which is www.cdr.org, and they can find us there. If you Google CDR Fatherhood, the first 20, 21 things you're going to see are all about our program, links to news, reports, and and our social media pages on Instagram and Facebook. All of those pages link directly to our program, and you can find us very easily that way.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, this has been I Now Pronounce You Divorced. If you like this content, if you're interested in learning more, please like, subscribe, and get to us with any questions. And we look forward to seeing you all again next week. Thank you for tuning into our podcast. If you found this episode helpful and you want more informational content, please be sure to subscribe and join us on all major social media platforms, including YouTube. Stay connected for more exciting updates and tips.